Hey everyone, welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready to explore some mind-bending ideas?
Always.
Today we're diving deep into consciousness, karma, and near-death experiences.
Ooh, fascinating stuff.
I know, right? Our source today is a YouTube video by Dr. Manuel Sans Segarra.
A medical doctor.
Yep, he's been exploring these topics for years. His insights are really thought-provoking.
So what's got you hooked about Dr. Cigar's take?
Well, one of the things that grabbed me right away was his idea that all living things have consciousness.
Interesting. Like even plants.
He says so. He defines consciousness as the knowledge of our existence, our reflections, and our actions.
Okay, I see. So not just humans being aware, but all living things having a sense of themselves in the world.
Exactly. And that makes you wonder, right? Are we more connected to the natural world than we think?
Definitely makes you think.
Yeah.
But how does he differentiate between, say, human consciousness and like a dog's consciousness or a tree's?
Great question. He makes this distinction between consciousness and self-awareness.
Yeah.
Humans have both. But he argues that animals and even plants can be conscious without having that kind of reflective self-awareness that we do.
Right, that makes sense. I can see how that would work. But how does he back that up? Like what examples does he give for consciousness in plants?
Well, he uses the example of plants turning towards the sun.
Okay, yeah. We all know plants do that, but how is that conscious?
It's not like they're actively thinking, hey, I need some vitamin D,
Right.
right? But they are responding to their environment. It suggests they're aware of their needs and are trying to get what they need to survive.
I see. So it's like an inherent knowing, even without complex thought. What about animals?
With animals, he talks about things like selective hunting behavior in predators. They often take only what they need for food, even when there's more prey available.
Interesting. So they're not just mindlessly killing, but showing restraint.
Exactly. And to Dr. Segarra, that suggests a level of awareness that goes beyond pure instinct. Like they're making choices.
Choices about their actions and impact, even. Wow. So if consciousness is more widespread than we typically think, what does that mean for us? Does it change how we see a tree or a flower or even the animals around us?
It definitely makes me look at the world a little differently. What about you?
For sure. It makes you question those boundaries of consciousness, and it raises those big questions about our place in everything.
Exactly. And that leads us to another fascinating concept Dr. Segarra explores, the human soul and the idea of karma.
Okay, let's get into that.
This is where things get really interesting.
I'm ready. What's his take on the soul?
He ties the soul to our self-awareness, which we can all relate to, but also, importantly, our ability to know the difference between ethical and unethical actions.
So our moral compass.
Right. It's that moral compass that sets us apart, he suggests.
I'm following you. So our souls are what make us moral beings, capable of making choices, and those choices have consequences. But then how does karma fit in?
He describes karma as a record of our actions and their effects.
Okay, so classic karma, what goes around comes around.
It's not just about this life. It could even extend across lifetimes.
Whoa, multiple lifetimes. Okay, so how does that work, practically speaking?
Think of it this way. Imagine you have a choice. Help a friend who's struggling, even if it's a pain, or ignore their situation.
Right, a classic dilemma.
Dr. Segarra would say that this is where karma comes into play for us humans.
Because we're aware of the choice.
Exactly. We're aware of the ethical implications. And he says that awareness shapes our soul's journey.
Powerful stuff. It really makes you think twice about those everyday decisions, doesn't it?
It does. If karma is a reflection of our choices, how would that change your approach?
It definitely adds another layer of consideration. It's not just about me and my immediate needs, but also the ripple effects of my actions on others, even in the long run.
Definitely something to ponder.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment. Dr. Segarra also delves into near-death experiences.
NDEs. Always a fascinating topic. What's Dr. Segarra's angle?
He approaches it from a unique perspective. Because as a physician, he's actually witnessed these events firsthand. He talks about patients reporting common elements during these experiences,
Like what?
like communication through thought, almost like telepathy,
Whoa, seriously.
and encounters with deceased loved ones, and a feeling of just overwhelming peace.
It sounds incredibly profound, but hold on. If they're communicating through thought, are they really seeing things without using their eyes?
That's what he's saying. It's like their sensory organs become irrelevant during these NDEs. Communication shifts to a purely energetic realm, which he calls the astral plane.
The astral plane. So is he suggesting these NDEs are glimpses into a different dimension, like where our souls actually exist?
That's certainly the implication. It raises some big questions about the nature of consciousness and what lies beyond our physical understanding. This is already blowing my mind.
Mine too. But I can imagine these ideas aren't always welcomed by everyone, especially in the science world. How does Dr. Segarra handle the tension between his spiritual insights and the more traditional scientific view?
He doesn't shy away from the controversy at all. In fact, he expresses frustration with the limitations of a purely materialistic approach. He argues that it can't fully explain everything about human experience, especially things like NDEs.
So he's advocating for a more open-minded science.
Absolutely. He wants scientists to consider evidence from fields like quantum physics and engage with these ideas with real inquiry instead of dismissing them outright. He challenges us to explore these mysteries of consciousness with both our scientific knowledge, a sense of wonder.
It's about bridging that gap between science and spirituality, which can often feel like two separate worlds.
This deep dive is already giving me goosebumps, and we've only just scratched the surface. But before we go any further, we want to remind you to subscribe to our channel. Leave your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your reactions and getting into these mind-blowing discussions with you.
And we'll be right back with part 2, where we'll explore Dr. Segarra's insights on the power of supraconsciousness and its connection to true happiness. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to our deep dive into consciousness, karma, and near-death experiences with Dr. Manuel Sans Segarra.
All right, so we talked about the possibility of consciousness in all living things and those incredible near-death experiences. But now I'm curious about this idea of supraconsciousness Dr. Segarra mentions.
Yeah, supraconsciousness. What's that all about?
What exactly is it?
It's like tapping into a higher level of awareness, a connection to something bigger than just us.
Okay, so like bigger than our individual selves.
Right, like accessing the source of our deepest wisdom, our intuition, even our creativity. It's where we get that sense of being connected to everything and feeling universal love.
So it's a deeper level of consciousness, beyond our everyday thoughts.
Exactly. And Dr. Segarra believes that developing our superconsciousness is like the key to unlocking real happiness and fulfillment in life.
Oh, interesting. So he's saying it's not about material things or status. He contrasts it with the temporary pleasure we get from chasing those things. Material possessions, status, power, all those external things we get caught up in.
He's saying those things won't bring us lasting joy. That's a bold statement. Do you think he's right?
Well, think about it. How often do you get that new gadget or get that promotion and then you still feel empty or unfulfilled?
I've definitely been there.
Dr. Segarra says that true happiness comes from within, from nurturing that deeper connection to ourselves, to our super consciousness.
So how do we do that? Tap into this superconsciousness. Does he give us a way to get there?
He's a big fan of meditation. He sees it as a way to access this state of being.
Meditation. Okay, I can see that.
It helps us quiet all that mental chatter, step back from our egos, and connect with that inner source of peace and wisdom.
So meditation is like a gateway to our superconsciousness. That's a cool way to think about it. We talked earlier about Dr. Segarra encountering some pushback from other doctors and scientists. Why do you think these ideas are sometimes met with skepticism?
I can understand why. We live in a world that prioritizes a materialistic worldview. Everything needs a scientific explanation, a physical process.
So there's a need for proof.
Right. Concepts like the soul, karma, and superconsciousness can seem pretty far out there for those who are really into traditional science.
So it challenges their fundamental understanding of how things work.
He's definitely pushing some buttons, and he's not afraid to do that.
That's what makes this so interesting.
I agree. He's asking us to expand our understanding of what's possible and to consider that maybe there's more to life than what we can see and touch.
And he does it with this blend of scientific knowledge and personal experience.
Absolutely. He's not just talking about theories. It's something he really connects with on a deep level. And he invites us to do the same, to approach these ideas with open minds and hearts and see where they lead.
Maybe even try out meditation to see if we can tap into our own superconsciousness.
Exactly. What Dr. Segarra is ultimately saying is that we have the potential to experience a level of peace, joy, and connection that's way beyond anything the material world can give us.
And that's something we all want, right?
Who wouldn't?
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to remind our listeners to check out Dr. Segarra's full YouTube video. You'll find the link in the show notes. It's worth a watch to explore these concepts in more depth.
Absolutely. And as always, we'd love to hear what you think. What stood out to you from this conversation? Have you had any experiences that connect with these ideas? Share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the most fascinating topics out there. Welcome back. It's amazing we're already at the final part of our deep dive into Dr. Segarra's work. One thing that's really stuck with me is this tension between his spiritual insights and the materialistic worldview that's so common in science. He seems to be suggesting that consciousness might be more than just our brains.
It's a big challenge he's putting out there. He talks about patients who, during their near-death experiences, could perceive things happening in other places, even really far away, while they were clinically dead.
It's like their minds were working even though their bodies weren't.
Exactly, like their consciousness was operating separately from their body.
That's where he brings in the idea of quantum entanglement, right?
Yes, that mind-boggling physics concept.
Where particles are connected even when they're far apart.
Right. And Dr. Segarra sees a connection there, hinting that maybe consciousness works in a similar way.
Transcending the limits of space and time as we understand them.
It's pretty wild to think about.
It's mind-blowing to think that our consciousness might not be limited to our brains, but could be part of a larger web of energy or information. It really challenges how we understand ourselves and our place in the universe.
It really does. And Dr. Segarra points out the limitations of our current scientific tools for studying consciousness. He talks about fMRI, which is used to study brain activity, but suggests you might not be able to capture everything that's going on with these subjective experiences.
So we can see which parts of the brain light up, but we don't really know what the person is experiencing.
Right. fMRI can show us which areas of the brain are active, but it can't fully explain those subjective experiences. The feelings, the emotions, that sense of interconnectedness people report during NDEs, it's still a big mystery.
Like trying to understand a symphony just by looking at the sheet music.
Perfect analogy.
You see the notes, but you don't hear the music.
Exactly. Dr. Segarra's point is that we need new ways of studying consciousness, methods that can account for these subjective, experiential dimensions.
So a more holistic approach that combines scientific rigor with an openness to the mysteries of the human mind.
Absolutely.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've explored the possibility of universal consciousness, we've delved into near-death experiences, and we've considered the power of cultivating our supraconsciousness. Dr. Segarra's ideas are both challenging and inspiring. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and share this episode.
And be sure to check out his full YouTube channel, the link's in the show notes.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the mysteries of consciousness. We hope it's made you curious about the possibilities of the human mind. And, as always, don't forget to subscribe for more thought-provoking deep dives. See you next time.